Greetings, everyone. My name is Q, and this wonderful bunch of folk right here, that's my family. And that's when it all began. Meet QSBullock and Sacrifice.
Well, just to take you back just a little ways, I'll never forget the day that changed my life. It was July 9th, 1985. I was at work and I got the message, and it had just given birth to the very first member of our very large family. I left work and went straight to the hospital, and I'll never forget the feeling of walking in there and seeing this little human being for the very first time. And I'll also never forget two thoughts came to mind immediately because I'd never seen a newborn baby before. My first thoughts was, is it supposed to look like this? And the nurse said, it's not it's a beautiful little girl. And yes, this is the way babies look. And the very next thing that hit my mind was, I'll never leave you. Only death will separate me from you. I meant it then, and 32 years later, I mean it now. Man, I'll tell you, when things are good, they're really good. But when things are bad, they're really bad. And right now, things were going pretty good. My son had completely recovered from his throat issue. I was well on my way to recovering from my burn. My wife was doing much better. We were back on the road performing and doing shows and traveling all over the country. As a matter of fact, we had begun working on our newest music project, entitled what? You guessed it, A Family Affair. I was in the studio going over some tracks when the phone rang. I had no way of knowing just what that call was going to be about. I answered the phone, and my daughter, Charlotte, was on the other end, frantically crying. Immediately, my heart almost stopped because Charlotte is not the crying type. Fussing? Yeah. Angry? Quite often. But crying and sobbing is not really Charlotte's character. So I calmed her down long enough to ask her what the problem was, and that's when she dropped it on me. She had made a follow-up visit to her doctor and had been given the terrible news that she had breast cancer. I mean, one of the worst feelings I had had to date was my daughter calling me broken and wounded because the doctors had told her she had breast cancer. Immediately, as a parent, you want to jump in and you want to help and fix the matter. But as I often told them growing up, some things are beyond mama and daddy's repair. Some things only God can fix. So after I got over the initial shock, I began to try to encourage her that everything happens for a reason and God still is in control. Finally, I was able to get her to calm down and convince her that everything was going to be all right. One way or the other, everything will be okay. And she said, thank you, Daddy. Thank you so much. But what she did know is after the phone call was over, I fell apart also. I really didn't know what to do, but one thing I knew I had to do. I had to go and get my daughter and her daughter and bring them home so I could take care of them. And that's what I did. I shut down her apartment, packed up her furniture, and moved her back home so her mother and I could take care of her. And for the next 8 months, we would be making trips from North Carolina to Noonan and Peachtree City, Georgia, to what was supposed to be the best cancer treatment facility in America.